With the birth of the Faith Persona, I have obtained the winds of blessing that shall lead to freedom and new power.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
After Kamoshida's palace fell to ruin and the man confessed his crimes, the group decided to form the Righteous Bantam Thieves and form a podcast. Hashtag shameless plugin. And if you want to know why this episode took so long to come out, take the 10 hours Kamoshida took, double it, and that's how long the second palace took. With everything established, the game is no longer afraid to put you in the ring. Thus, we get a palace that, while it lacks in comparison to the palace before, is still a good palace. And somehow the palace talked about the least. Let's change that. First, with the story. While figuring out who to go after next, Morgana introduces us to Mementos, a gigantic palace for shadows whose desires cannot manifest their own palace, thus are stuck here. They come across a man who was mentored under Madarame, and mention how horribly he treated his prodigies. Coincidentally, his current prodigy, Yusuke Kitagawa, asks Anne to be his model for his next piece. As morals are questioned and stakes are raised, the Phantom Thieves enter Madarame's Museum of Vanity, revealing his dark secrets of deep year ago, and possibly gaining a new ally. Right away, the Vanity arc, as I call it, is a step down from the Lust arc with Kamoshida. It still has the laughs, the emotions, everything that helped before, but it has to follow up the amazing job Palace 1 did. Your opinion on the arc also relies on how much you like the focused characters. If you like them, you might like the arc, but yeah, why don't we just go right into discussing the characters. Yusuke Kitagawa, adopted by Madarame after his mother passed, art is his passion, even going to Kosei High as an honor student for the arts. Despite being treated horribly, Yusuke cares for his caretaker and defends him whenever possible. But, as the truth slowly reveals itself, he can no longer avoid the facts, and rebels against the man he considered a father. It was hard to put a finger on how I thought of Yusuke. They often say the first impression is the last impression, and if you went by that, there wasn't much to write home about in a positive light. It seemed like Art and Madarame were all he cared about, and if you weren't for that, you're best left behind. From his point of view, once told, you can understand why he feels like that. If it weren't for Madarame and his art teachings, Yusuke's life could have very well gone worse. He is aware of the criticism brought against Madarame, and even wants to acknowledge it, but because of the good Madarame gave him, he can never accept it, and go to great lengths to remove those thoughts, even as far as calling the police. Once the truth is brought out, his acceptance begins to take shape and he rebels against his caretaker, becoming a loyal ally, if not a bit weird. But hey, who is it? If you can understand his beginnings in the story, I think Yusuke will be one of your favorite characters. Something I'm sure I'll bring up again in the very near future. But, for now, let's get this right out of the way. Madarame isn't Kamoshida. You barely see him in the arc, and there's little personal connection this time. But does that make him a bad villain? No, but there are reasons people find him to be one of the least memorable of the game. one of the least memorable. We'll get there soon enough. Oh, so soon enough. I will say that any artist, no matter your style, will immediately feel disgusted with his actions. What's a calm, welcoming, and cheerful master of the arts on the surface lies a scummy, unforgivable man, reaping the talent of his pupils. Once an artist full of inspiration and good intentions, over time he grew bitter of how art is viewed among the public, and believes art should only be used for profit. He uses his pupils' artwork as his own, and even goes to the length of letting someone die just to steal their artwork and use it for profitable gain. This, of course, makes for an unforgivable antagonist, but most of what I just said is told to you rather than shown, specifically through the boast his shadow makes. You get little of that through Yusuke, but since he defends Madarame, it's not enough for the eyes to confirm his actions. Those actions are heinous, don't get me wrong, especially right before the boss fight when he reveals how he truly obtained Yusuke's favorite painting. But he's still slightly behind Kamoshida as an impactful antagonist. Not the best, but by far not the worst. With that in mind, let's just get to the fun part. Now, last time I mentioned palaces briefly, so it feels right to go into more detail this time. When you find your target, you enter the palace with a certain time limit. You must reach the end of the palace 2 days before your time is up, or it's game over. Before you freak out, the game gives you plenty of time to do just that, as long as you can manage your time wisely. It's a quote-unquote straight path, point A to point B. While there are a few diversions that never go far from the main path, so should curiosity pay off, which it should, explore the nooks and crannies and rewards might be for the taking. It could be treasure chests for special items, will seeds as mentioned in the last episode, or a shortcut to make backtracking easier. Take your time to explore and witness the dark secrets that lie beneath. Your path will be blocked by enemies, both roaming for battles of your choice and fixed for forced battles. Some enemy designs can make what type of battle they are easy to pick out, but the difficulty of the fight can be seen with something I didn't mention last time, the third eye. The third eye is this game's detective mode. Use it and it grants you certain visions. The palace security meter will be visible, certain objects glow gold for extra goodies to sell, and enemies will be color-coded for easy, medium, or hard battles you'll be encountering. Use this whenever you want. It's only going to help you on your journey. Take it down if you want. Your controller will hate you, but what's another $60, am I right? But don't go thinking you can mindlessly go through. Puzzles will appear in the palace, with progression as your reward. It's usually not that hard to figure out, whether it's a book passage or picking the right painting. Just be observant to the dialogue and the details, and you should be fine. I say that, and yet... No, we are not going there yet. I don't even want to think about it. I can breathe for now. Something else you'll find scattered through palaces are safe rooms. A break room to chat with your thieves for information, save your game, and teleport to certain points of the palace when unlocked. You can use this to leave the palace for the day, as well as by exiting the entrance, or... Oh. Wait. Hold on, how did I forget to mention this? Welp. A Persona staple. The Velvet Room is a place that exists between dream and reality, mind and matter. See, your protagonist isn't just doing this for laughs, since removing palaces and forming bonds can apparently save the world from an upcoming threat. Igor here is essentially your guide, someone to put you on the right path and observe your journey. His assistance comes in the form of Justine and Caroline, attendants who help Joker with personas, specifically at the start, fusing them. Once you obtain personas, a list of fusible allies show up. Combine two of them together and BAM! New ally for your quest. Of course, you can obtain personas through negotiations, but fusing them is as useful in case negotiations go sour. You can even buy personas back with yen should you need a specific persona for the fusion you want. And keep in mind of what type persona there are. After all, each persona has their own strengths and weaknesses, especially when it comes to a certain gameplay mechanic that will get its own future episode. Believe me, it will. Now there is more to go into with the Velvet Room, but that comes in the future. Until then, we have another beast to tackle. Mementos, the name the original Persona 5 fans dread. It might have been the chosen stage for Smash, but it was hard to find anyone who said this was one of the game's strong suits. Part of me dreaded returning, and when I reached that moment, I began to see hope. While I need future visits to confirm my thoughts, the changes I've both seen and heard of relieved my mind. For the most part, it's what you remember. You travel down randomized rooms, battle enemies, and collecting items the further you go. The more palaces you finish, the deeper you can traverse, which, trust me, you'll want to for a less arduous time towards the end of the game. Basically, a downward Tartarus from Persona 3. Occasionally, you'll receive requests for the NCP EXP boy, Mishima, which offer optional bosses for even greater rewards. Some of the requests are found over time, while others are necessary to complete certain confidants, so they are worth going for. Then we get to the new boy, Jose. No, not Jose, Jose. I know, it messed me up too. He wishes to understand humans, so he asks us to collect flowers and stamps to help his research. Flowers are found randomly on floors, while stamps are found at the end of floors, and sometimes hidden within them. Jose himself will be hidden randomly in Mementos as well, but trust me, you'll want to find him, because in exchange for these items, he can offer special items, and change the cognition of Mementos for increased rewards, such as more experience and more money. I love this change. Since you need to finish Mementos in due time, having an extra push to come back is great. Though keep in mind, the flowers you get when you leave Mementos don't stay with you. So try to find Jose if you have any extra flowers, or you'll just have to start over when you come back. Though, real talk, what flavor do you think that juice is? I bet it's mango. If you thought your Infiltration would be 100% successful, you haven't played the Sly Cooper game. No matter what palace, it always ends in a boss fight. It must first be said that Blooming Villain, the main boss theme, is amazing. It gets your blood boiling, with the energy needed to tell you that you're in for a rough time. Bosses in the original Persona 5 were great, for the most part. Still not there yet. So, when I put in Royal, I expected the rematch to be the same. I was pleasantly surprised to learn that isn't exactly the case. Bosses were revamped for Royal, with new additions and strategies to bring them down. For Kamoshida, it was the inclusion of a cognitive Mishima and Suzui, and Madarame getting a revamped Phase 2 with elemental clones. These changes so far are for the better, both for gameplay and to show how twisted the palace rulers have become. I'm honestly looking forward to the changes to the fights and the potential they bring. Plus, anytime you hear this amazing boss music, I am all for, man. It's just so good! And that about covers today's topics. I'll go over the city life next time, and I know I brought up Confidants so many times, but they'll be getting special treatment in a future episode, just like the palaces themselves, so worry no mind. I liked Palace 2 to sum things up. Not as great as the first, but still an enjoyable time. Though I will never understand that trippy realm. No, seriously, what was that? I don't know. But will the next palace fare better? Or will it be an ill-placed deposit? See you next time to find out.